This is Ray Gettins, Director of U.S. Veteran Resources, and I'd like to take a moment to share with you some information about one of what I believe is the Veterans Administration's best benefits out there. And this benefit, aid in attendance, is unique for one very clear reason. It is one of the few benefits that is available to not only the veteran, but the spouse. And to be blunt about it, we actually, over the last 10 years, have noticed very quickly that more spouses are receiving this veterans benefit than the veterans themselves. For the obvious reason, the ladies tend to outlive the gentlemen. That being said, let me kind of share with you exactly how the benefit works and give you an overview of exactly what is involved with aid in attendance. So the aid in attendance benefit was created by the Veterans Administration over 50 years ago. The benefit is designed to pay for out-of-pocket health expenses for both the veteran and the spouse. The benefit is tiered by marital status. The benefit does not in any way take into account length of service beyond the required 90 days, or it's not different from any branch, and it doesn't require and doesn't pay any more regardless of rank. Okay, so when you look at the aid and attendance benefit, a veteran that is single or widowed would be entitled to a little over $1,900 per month, and keep in mind it's a reimbursement, so it's going to be direct deposited right into the claimant's checking account, very similar to like Social Security even. Okay, even the surviving spouse will receive over $1,200, and a veteran couple a little bit over $2,360. So you can see it's a pretty significant amount, and it is of course tax-free because it is a reimbursement of necessary health expenses. Okay, so that's what the benefit is. Let's talk for just a moment about exactly what is required in order to attain the benefit. Bear in mind, I want to give you a very high-level view of exactly what the benefit is, and then provide you with additional information as well. So, number one, the veteran must have 90 days of active duty, 1 day during a period of war. Now, let me be very clear about this on two things. One is the Veterans Administration does not play by the history books. Okay, the periods of war are not necessarily what you and I learned in school. Okay, clearest example, according to the Veterans Administration, the Second World War did not end until December 31st, 1946. Very different than what I think all of us learned back in school. Okay, number two, there is nowhere, and this is, let me be very clear, where there is any type of requirement as to where the veteran served. The VA simply does not care, only when. So you do not have to be in the theater of war. Okay, that's critically important. So that's requirement number one, and once again, requirement number one is 90 days of active duty, 1 day during a period of war. Number two is exactly what the benefit is created for, and that is to pay for out-of-pocket health expenses. Let me be clear about this also. This, I believe, is one of the best parts of the benefit, is the fact that the Veterans Administration does not tell you where you must receive the care. They do not tell you what community or what facility or whom needs to come to your home. They leave that decision up to the family. They leave that up to the veteran, the spouse, and that will, and the VA takes this into account, potentially change over time, and they allow for that as well. Okay? So that's number two, which is exactly what the benefit is created for, the necessary medical expense. The VA is looking for something here that is chronic and ongoing, not just rehab. Okay? The third and final thing for the aid and attendance benefit is, of course, a financial need component. There is somewhat of a complicated formula in determining this. What I'll share with you, the easiest way to think of it is there are two tests. The first is an income test, the second is an asset test. So if we look at that income test, it is simply a ratio. So what the VA is looking at here is how much money does the veteran and or spouse have coming in every month. So Social Security, pension, investment income, what have you, put that in one hand. Okay? In the other hand, what does that veteran and spouse have going out in qualifying health expenses? Okay? That's everything from the $144.60 that comes out of your Social Security check each month to cover part of the Medicare expense. It can be the cost of any type of health insurance that you have, any health insurance premium, okay? And the biggest one generally is what we see is the cost of care, whether it's home health care or what we see the most, assisted living, okay? That goes in the other hand. As long as there is $1 more in the cost of care hand than there is the income hand, you will be entitled to a full benefit as long as you pass the asset test, okay? Now, the most important thing I can tell you about the asset test is when it comes to the asset test, assets break into two categories. They are either counted or exempt. And once again, this is where we can be helpful in helping you identify what is counted and what is exempt. And there are some ways to reclassify counted assets as exempt in order to qualify sooner rather than later. Okay, so once again, 3 requirements in order to meet the aid and attendance claimant status of an honored claim. Number 1, 90 days of active duty. Number 2, a qualifying health need, once again provided by the forms from the doctor, and then finally to pass the income and asset test to show a true financial need. Final thing on that asset test, what the VA is looking at as far as counted assets in the year 2020 is $128,260 is the maximum that you may have in counted assets. Once again, you may have other assets which are considered exempt, which would then not require you to spend down in order to meet the financial need for the aid and attendance benefit. Once again, I'm Ray Gettens with U.S. Veteran Resources. Wanted to share with you a little bit of information about the aid and attendance benefit.